Virginia. Minority Leader Sean Hornbuckle here with the House Democrat Caucus. And today we want to talk about our plan and our agenda. Last year, we sat out across the state on our kitchen table tour and we listened and we found out just exactly what West Virginians are wanting, where they're hurting, and where we need to significantly impact their lives. And that's how we have arrived at our kitchen table agenda this upcoming legislative session. Now, some of those things that they talked about while we were going across the state, and we went everywhere. We went to the Eastern Panhandle, Southern Coalfields, Central West Virginia, Northern Panhandle, every part's in between. And one of the biggest things was cost of living. It was cost of living, and it was about everybody not being able to afford their power bill. West Virginia, unfortunately, is number one in the country on our utility rates. And that is something that as Democrats, we are going to attack so aggressively this legislative session and several bills that will address that. When we were in the Southern Coalfields, we understood that it was about clean drinking water. And we do to desperately do something about that. In lots of different places, we talked about public education. Then we talked about the loss of funding that is actually leading to school closures. And we're going to address that as well. Also, when we went across the state, I remember very vividly being in Martinsburg, and a young lady, she got up on the podium and she started talking about her issues, and it boiled down to essentially choosing homelessness or death. She did not have enough money to be able to continue the life-saving drugs that she needed. And so in West Virginia, we are going to address healthcare. And we also know that pans out with PEIA, over 14% premium increases. And we have solutions ready to go to help be a part of solving that issue. As you see behind me today, again, we're going to have laser focus. We're going to have laser focus and prioritize 4 different areas. That is going to start, again, first with utility bills. We're going to address healthcare. We're going to address childcare. And then we are also going to address housing. And those are the key factors to making sure that we can have a vibrant state and a place where people want to live and play and work. And so that is, again, our plan. And we want to open it up to any questions that you all might have and any details you need to know.
Hi, Brad Mack. So, as a matter of numbers, there are maybe 1 or 2 of you on each. If you've got a plan, how do you try to exert some influence? You just each try to be consistent in your message and keep those priorities in mind throughout the session.
So yeah, that's part of it, right? And so we are exactly, this is a people-driven caucus. We've done that. We've gone out. We've done the meeting. We've listened to everyone, and we're going to reverberate in this Capitol what everyone has said, and we will stay on topic with those priorities. There's nothing else that is more important to us than taking care of everything that is on people's plates at home, right? What they're talking about around their kitchen table, and that's where we want to make sure that our focus is at.
Related to Brad's question, but I mean, several of the things that you have that you are focusing on that are on the screen behind you, especially like utility bills, certainly on paper are things that are not Republican and Democratic issues. They're things that all pertain to affordability, things that everybody deals with, no matter who they are. So, do you, even if say you all don't get credit for some of this stuff, do you see an ability to work with some Republicans across the table and across the aisle and find some real kind of agreement on these issues?
Well, we've never cared about credit. So much so that a lot of my colleagues up here, we've served for 10, 8, 6+ years. We have been talking about these things for the past decade. And I would tell you, if you're talking about bipartisanship, we are super excited that the other side is listening to us now, right? And we're going to hopefully do these things together. But again, I want to make it very clear that we've been talking about these things, again, Williams, Fluharty, Pushkin, ever since we got here. And we're excited that they are following our lead.
Do you have any specific examples of legislation that be pushed across the finish line to address these issues?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I was waiting for you to ask that. And so again, and I'm going to hand it over to Delegate Evan Hansen from Morgantown. But we have to take care of the fundamentals, the blocking and the tackling first. And one of those things that touches everyone's lives, right? Whether you're regular folks, downtrodden, super affluent, is utility bills, right? And so we've got a three-pronged plan to be able to attack that to get some relief to West Virginians.
I want to start by just clarifying something that the minority leader said, that while our electric rates are way higher than they have been, they're not the highest in the country. What we have seen here in West Virginia is that it's increased faster. Our electric rates have increased faster than other states have seen increases. And the reason for that has been some bad decisions made by this legislature and by the Public Service Commission. And we have several bills that will help to address that. One, we would like to start with a freeze on electric rates. We'd like to see electric rates frozen until the middle of 2027. That'll give this legislature some time to implement good policies. Now, one good policy that we'd like to get across the finish line this year is reform at the Public Service Commission, because they have so much power in terms of approving electric rate increases. And our reform package includes things like ethics reform to hold them to the highest ethical standards. Number two, our reform package actually defines the public interest and requires the commissioners to make decisions in our interest rather than the interest of the electric utilities. And number three, we're pushing to make the commissioners an elected office rather than appointed office, so that they can be held accountable by the ratepayers and not accountable to the governor. And then another thing we need to do here in West Virginia is embrace an all of the above energy strategy, so that we're not dependent on a single fuel to generate our electricity, but we should also embrace gas, nuclear, wind, and solar. And that's what other states have done that have seen their electric rates increase slower than our rates. So that's really essential here in West Virginia. And then the fourth thing, I want to give Minority Whip Fluharty the floor here to talk about junk fees on electric bills.
We will be introducing legislation related to junk fees. For example, when you pay the processing fee, in many states they've looked at this and said, wait a minute, we're basing this off of the actual monthly bill rate and not the fee itself. So we want transparency from these companies showing us that, hey, if you're charging somebody a processing fee, it should be for a legitimate reason and legitimate charge. And right now, it's a gray area where there's no transparency. So we're looking at ways to literally try to save every dollar we can for West Virginia ratepayers, and through a junk fees bill, which we'll be introducing, we're looking for more transparent accountability to these corporations. And I do want to address what you said about our agenda here is truly unifying, because it doesn't matter what party you belong to, your income, any of these things, it's about West Virginians. But for a decade now, we've dealt with, excuse my language, social issue bullshit from Republicans. And now we've seen a few weeks ago, the Speaker, Hanshaw, came out with his caucus and said, we're going to try to focus on things that actually help West Virginia. And we welcome that. But you'll notice he's on a bit of an island, because the Senate wasn't with him and the governor's office wasn't with him when he was addressing their platform. So we're hoping that the House can come together and be the adults in the room, as we've been for a long time, and try to unite West Virginians instead of working on legislation that only creates division amongst our neighbors. So we're not up here talking about the social issue BS, because it doesn't put food on the table when you're sitting around the kitchen table. It doesn't provide for the future for your family, which is what we're focused on. Because the way it's working now, it's not working for all West Virginians. It's working for political campaigns and re-elections. And the same people walk around these hallways. Well, things got to change, so that's what we're focused on.
I was gonna ask you about whether last year a lot of things were pushed aside for these social issues. Have you spoken with other Republican members who also get that same sentiment that that you focus on kitchen table issues instead of the, as you said, social bullshit?
Well, I think that what they'll tell you behind closed doors and off the record may not be what you get on the record. Because on the record, they're worried about results in November more so than they are the results in the homes in West Virginians. So I think there are a few reasonable ones left, and I emphasize a few. We obviously need some more Democrats here.
Yeah, I was just, I understand that this is kind of a plank y'all got from the kitchen table agenda here, but I remember thinking last session, the issue that was near and dear to the minority leader's heart was, obviously the issue of flooding and lack of funding for the flood trust fund. Is that something y'all gonna be addressing in this current session? And, I mean, obviously that's like a money situation, and once you get a budget, have you heard anything on that?
Yeah.
Kind of give us kind of an update on that.
Yeah, so I do fully intend with my colleagues to run legislation again to address where we are falling short with helping West Virginians on flooding issues, and more so being proactive in those measures and trying to seek some infrastructure changes. Currently, we haven't heard much on that, but that is very much on our radar.
And just to follow up, I know that last year it was about the tune of $250 million was what was the ask out of the rainy day fund. I understand that Delegate Hamilton has signed on to a drinking water bill that would be that much out of that. Is there going to be kind of like a push and pull priority there between flooding versus drinking water?
So both need to address, right? But we want to be clear that we have to have clean drinking water. In regards to that number, that $250 million, that was a piece of legislation that I pushed last year. However, if you remember, during the budget process, I actually pared that down to a $50 million ask. Again, it's what Minority Whip Fluhar was talking about. We're going to do things that are unifying, right? We're always going to do that, but we're going to stand firm in that to get these results for West Virginians.
Doug Fluhar, you got really close last year to finally getting Rayleigh's Law across the finish line. I think you had the most bipartisan support that you had for it. Today, obviously, it was not enough to overcome. But do you foresee this being the year that, at least on the House side, that Rayleigh's Law comes in?
I believe we have the support in the House. We have the support of the Speaker. We have bipartisan support in the House. 2 years now it has gone over, and we've amended it and found common sense support. And just last week, the governor held a press conference on his child care issues, and Rayleigh's Law was brought up to the governor. Now, Rayleigh's Law has been covered locally nonstop. It's been covered nationally. It's been covered globally. And yet the governor last week said he didn't even know about it. He didn't know Rayleigh Browning and the tragedy that came from her death and the loophole which protects child abusers. We have a loophole in this state which protects child abusers, and our own governor doesn't even know that Rayleigh's Law exists. I mean, that is just fundamental malpractice by our governor. It's fundamental malpractice legislatively by the Senate, who wouldn't put Rayleigh's Law on the agenda. And if it sits for another year, how many more children are we going to read about who are being taken advantage of by abusers who are using the system with this loophole to do their acts? It is disgusting. I anticipate we'll get it out of the House again, but the onus is on the Senate and the governor's office to come together and run this legislation. I believe it was brought up today with Amanda Barron just a few minutes ago. I was receiving text messages that Rayleigh's Law was brought up and there's support out there for it. So it's common sense. I'm tired of hearing the talk, quite frankly. They like to talk about family issues and being pro-life and protecting children, but yet simple legislation that's one page that closes a loophole to protect children, they can't spend the time to get it done. It's malpractice.
I was gonna ask more about your housing plan, because you have housing on there. I just wanted to get a little bit more details of the housing agenda.
Yeah, thank you. My name is John Williams, delegate from Morgantown. The housing plan is multi-focused, and I think what we see too often in this body is sort of a check-the-box approach. So we saw that on childcare in 2024. We come down here for a special session, barely do anything to address childcare, but we could say, hey, we checked the box. And I think you have similar approaches when it comes to the housing crisis in West Virginia. And so what we are talking about are credits for first-time home buyers. They are interest rate forgiveness to help drive down those costs for families. If you can see this table in front of me, could be a kitchen table kind of appearance. People don't sit and imagine whether someone can stand up while riding their motorcycle or not. Vroom, vroom, right, Flo? They don't think about what's going on in the bathrooms. They don't think about those things. They think about their bottom line, how much things cost. And I guarantee that the mortgage comes up a lot. So that's an issue we can address along with childcare and healthcare costs. Families are paying too much for both of those things. I know one of my kitchen table conversations my wife and I have year to year is, wow, daycare went up by 8%. Meanwhile, our health insurance went up by 12%. So there we have a 20% increase on a significant portion of our outs every month, our expenditures. And housing would be an important part of that. Thank you.
And let me add to that. He is spot on. But we need to work with some of our private sector and develop something, because it's not just mortgages. People can't afford the rent. Our housing stock is just not in a good state right now. And so again, we want to make sure that we're looking out for home buyers, but there's so much, and I could guarantee you more of our population that are renters. And if we can't make that affordable for them, they can't focus on anything else. Again, so we will be crafting legislation and solutions to look how we help people with renting as well.
Will you be encouraging the private sector or commercial developers to build more dense housing?
We want to make clear on that, though. So there's a lot of things going on with housing. But we want to make sure that we're focusing on everyday West Virginians. All right. We're not looking to just prop up some luxury condos and do that. No. We want to make sure that West Virginians that work hard, that cannot afford their $800, $900 rents today in all of our towns and cities, that they have some type of relief.
I also wanted to add that in the city of Morgantown, affordable housing is a really big deal. And to their credit, Morgantown City Council is starting to look at options for how they can act as a city. But what they're finding is that solutions are going to require not just action at the municipal level, but also corresponding actions at the state level. So we want to work with our municipalities and our counties that are looking for solutions locally and see how we could help make those solutions work.
Utility bills makes me think of last year's perhaps only economic development bill, which was the data centers. Seems like it's ripe for revisiting. I think that's a tricky issue because there have been lightning rods in other states and communities. They can contribute to the tax base. They employ some people for doing construction, but they are heavy energy users, and sometimes the location is not great for them. What is your overarching thought on data centers? Should that bill be revisited?
That data center bill does need to be revisited, and we've got a few bills to do that. One is to restore local control, because remember that bill just makes local ordinances null and void. So things like setbacks or noise ordinances cannot be enforced in current code. So we need to put local control back in state code. Second thing we need to do is revisit where the tax distributions are going, because what that bill did is it took taxes that should be going to the local counties that are impacted by the data centers and uses most of that revenue for additional tax cuts for the rich. And we want to redirect that toward priorities that actually help working people. And then the third issue is related to how the data centers impact local water resources. We need to make sure that these data center developers disclose to the public and disclose to the state where they're getting the water from, what they're doing with it, where it's going, before they become a certified data center, so that there's transparency in the process and people know what's going on in their communities.
Yeah, that's a good question. I understand that, especially a lot of the issues of healthcare, childcare, and housing, a lot of that in West Virginia is traditionally kind of relied on federal support. Obviously, we've been seeing a lot of changes in Washington in terms of federal funding and, of course, possible changes to the big beautiful bill. We don't know what those results are yet. Give us a report. I guess my question is are y'all working with your Republican colleagues to try to kind of figure out where the state might have to start filling in where the feds have traditionally been picking up the tab?
And so we stand by ready to do that with them. We currently do not have all the information right now, but we understand that with the bill that was passed this summer by the federal administration, it's going to kick a lot of people off of their health care. And something that a lot of people are paying attention to, that bill ravaged rural hospitals, absolutely ravaged them. And so what's also going to happen is when those, and hopefully they don't, and we can figure out some type of a stopgap or some type of system or process here within our state legislature to fix, all right, what the federal administration did to us. Those people that are now not going to be able to go to that rural hospital, they're going to have to go to all the other hospitals. They're going to slow down the ERs. And so this is an issue that affects everyone. And so again, we stand ready as more information comes in and we're privy to be a part of that solution.
Has the Republican supermajority told you why they won't release the information?
Standard.
So that well, it's clear they haven't released their information related to the impact of the big beautiful bill, which turns out to be really bad and ugly for the state of West Virginia.
But FOIA, they declined to release the information.
They declined to release. I just want to make sure we're clear on the record here for everybody in attendance that the Republican supermajority has failed to be transparent. We're going to hear about transparency all session. We're going to hear it sure as hell come November about how transparent they are. But the one big beautiful bill from the federal government is creating a lot of bad problems in West Virginia, and they won't even release the information through a FOIA request. All right, good to know.
Well, to Delegate Fluharty's point, some of these people in this building have a press conference when they make a good cup of coffee. So if they're not going to release the results of what the big beautiful bill is going to do, it's not good. We've heard estimates that it will be as much as $150 million a year on the low side. When you start to do some math on some other things like HOPE going up to a $235 million a year spend, we're looking at a little bit of a hole. The state's going to have its own kitchen table issues to talk about because we're not going to be able to pay our bills.
If there was good news for West Virginia in the one big beautiful bill or whatever they call it, Trump spending bill, if there was good news in it for West Virginia, they'd be popping the balloons and dropping confetti over at the culture center. They're not. The reason they're not releasing it is because we all know that it's bad news for West Virginia. And they're allowed to not release it because of a bill that they passed last year that none of us supported. So you can't do your job in the media and FOIA certain documents and reports from this building. And then 2 years ago, they passed another bill that gutted the independence of the Office of the Legislative Auditor, so we're not getting any independent reports. They're only going to release what they want you to know, and if they wanted you to know this, it would have already been released. Bad news for West Virginia, and unfortunately, our entire federal delegation supported it wholeheartedly.
Just to wrap this up, we want to let everyone know that we are here as House Democrat Caucus and our 2 senators, all right, in the Senate to fight for West Virginia. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to make sure that kitchen table issues are the focus of our agenda. Thank you all.
Thank you.